And we are live. What's good, Josh and Mandel? Saying how y'all feeling, y'all? What's good? What's good? Happy Thursday. Y'all know what it is. Happy Thursday. We're sitting here. Um, it's summertime. I'm on summer schedule, which means there is no schedule. I'm all over the place. All over the let me check. Oh, yeah, it was good. I can't keep a schedule. It's for me, it's just, it's a lot going on. I don't have my little one. And again, like I said, she's my foundation. All schedules revolve around her, but it's summertime. She's with her mom. Actually, she'll be home Monday. She called. She wanted to come home Monday. She's like, Papa, can you come pick me up Monday? Yeah, sure, I'll come pick you up. So she'll come home for a little bit, take a little break, and then go back over to her mom's at some point. At least that's what I think. Teenagers, they got minds of their own, doing their own thing. She's in the kitchen teaching herself, not just teaching herself, but exploring in the kitchen and doing stuff. I'm so proud of her. So we're gonna see what kind of cooking skills she has. I'm gonna teach her how to make some stuff. Might teach her how to bake some mac and cheese and make some hamburgers. She loves turkey burgers, so maybe I'll show her how to make some hamburgers. Get her cooking skills up to par. Um, so yeah, that's So Monday, I'll probably be, sitting down making thumbnails and hitting time hacks properly because I'll have her and I won't be running around as much. But I still need to get out and do stand up. You know what I mean? We got brother Jack Black in the house, man. What's good, fam? How you feeling? We got the Knights up in this joint. Love the consistent content, my man. Yeah, we got to do it, bro. We got to be consistent, man. You have to. That's one thing I know about YouTube. You have to just you got to keep cranking the content, keep talking about stuff. And, I'm talking about a whole bunch of stuff. Earlier today, I did an upload. I was talking about the insurance situation down here in Florida is getting worse. So there's going to be mainstream news here pretty soon with what's going on with Florida. The homeowner insurance thing is just it's falling apart. It's over. It's over. And this is we're just beginning hurricane season. So we know there's going to be a couple bad storms come through here. Maybe one or two pretty bad hurricanes are going to come through and hit Florida at some point. I'll be very surprised if Florida is missed by these storms. We know these storms are getting more intense all around the world. Um, so when the next storm hits, no one's really covered. Everyone's paying all this money and premiums are going up and stuff like that. So I did a short about that earlier, a DL short about that earlier day. It was like close to 20 minutes. It's out there. Go check it out if you want. Um, it's crazy. And that's just one of many issues down here in Florida. So, like on the political side with Downrange Podcast and those shorts, there's a lot to keep that going. Politically, what's going on here in Florida. And just to run up to it's an election year, it's an election cycle, so we got even more stuff going on a national level. And by the way, Florida's not the only state having this insurance problem. Florida, Texas, Colorado, California, just to name a few. There's a couple more out there that are having trouble. So stay posted. If you guys are curious as to what's going on, stay posted. You'll find it out. I'll put out there what I can on this platform. If you guys follow me, you've seen a lot of shorts. Follow me around, basically a vlog on the stand-up comedy thing. In this show today, we're going to talk about the business of stand-up comedy. People don't realize that it is a big business. Stand-up comedy, falls in that entertainment realm. Actors, writers, directors, producers, and all that sort of stuff. Stand-up comedy is right there, and it lends itself stand-up comedy lends itself to acting. All of the greats. If you look at the top 5 or 10 stand-up comics in America, they've probably done TV shows. They've probably done movies. Look at Bill Burr. Look at Dave Chappelle. Sebastian Maniscalco. Sebastian is if you guys don't know who he is came out of LA. Real funny guy. He is, man, he's up there right now. Like right now, today, one of the top earners in the business. Sebastian recently did a movie with Robert De Niro. Like he starred in a movie. So he had a bit part in The Irishman, but Robert De Niro and Sebastian allegedly, made a movie, full length feature. I'm sorry, I can't say the name of it. I haven't looked it up. It just kind of came to me. Patrick Bet-David was talking about it. He said it was, he saw a premiere, he saw the movie, he said it was good, but it had a bunch of, LBGTQ themes in it, which is what Hollywood is doing now. They're almost forced to put, these kind of beats in their movies. So, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm gonna look it up and check it out. But Sebastian, very, very funny comedian. I've had the honor of working with him. I was coming up pretty much behind him. Like, so, he was in the business before me. He was established at the Comedy Store, and I was coming up right behind him. I can remember when he first got invited to do the Tonight Show. We were all sitting there on the patio watching. Um, it wasn't just him. Brett Ernst, John Caparello, Ty Barnett. I mean, the list goes on. There's a ton of really good comics out there. And all of them has done movies and TV shows and stuff like that. They're very, very talented people. So that world is big business. I mean, big business. Um, and I mean, I've seen guys get TV shows. I've seen guys get pilots, and that's when you see it. You have guys who are like working at Starbucks or working as a waitress or waitress or waiter or bartender somewhere. You know what I mean? A waitress or bartender somewhere, and they land a big role, or they get a TV show off the grounds, get greenlit, and boom, they go from making what they're making as a bartender to making hundreds of thousands of dollars a week while in production. Steve Burns, another really good comedian. You guys should check him out. I think Steve is living in Tennessee now. He had his own TV show called Sullivan and Sons, and it was cool watching that TV show. It was a really good show. It was a really good sitcom, and it was cool watching it. I think it was on TBS, and there a lot of his co-stars were comedians, and a lot of those comedians, like I knew that came out of the Comedy Store and some other places, and even the extras, like comedians, getting Steve Trevino, another guy who was able to get in and get in and get these roles and start out as an extra in the background and work his way up to maybe a couple lines. It's kind of cool watching that. I'm sitting back as an air traffic controller watching them, like, oh man, I know them people. They've done my shows. I've had people hit me up. Hey, isn't this guy that was performing at one of your shows? I'm like, yeah, that's him. And, it's just kind of cool to see how that plays out. All that comes from the business side of stand-up comedy, man. So it's a lot of people out there been hitting me up, and they're like, yo, bro, how do I, people say I'm funny or I think I'm funny. How do I get into stand-up? How do how's it work? I mean, normally you just have to be persistent. You find yourself an open mic somewhere, or you find a microphone somewhere, someone's doing a show, and you just get up there. So many people are like, well, bro, don't I have to take a class and do this? Like, no, whenever people tell me about stand-up classes, whenever someone comes up to me and they say, well, I took this stand-up class, I just laugh at them. Like, you just wasted your money. What did they teach you? Nothing. They made up some sort of structure, and because Americans are so programmed to take classes and do this and that, they're thinking like, well, it only costs $200, $500, $1,500, $3,000. And I went in and like, well, what did you learn? Because you still got to go get on stage, and like, well, the class comes with, you get your first stage performance as part of the class. At the end of the class, graduation week, you bring in people. I'm like, oh, so you got a whole bunch of people that love you, that come in there and they're gonna laugh at you no matter what you do. So that's not stand up. That's not learning anything. So how do you know what's really funny? I never performed in front of people I knew in the beginning. It took me months, I mean, almost a year before I invited friends to come watch me perform. I was performing in front of strangers because I wanted to know if what I was doing was funny. These strangers, they don't owe me anything. Right? I started at the Comedy Store when the Comedy Store was like Fight Club. It was bro, it was rough. Yeah, I mean, the first night I went up, the first night I finally got a chance. I got a spot on the open mic night at Comedy Store in Hollywood on Sunset. First night I went up, I got lucky, man. A group of people came in, tourists, and I was doing 3 minutes of the worst material I've ever done in my life. And these people laughed. And I'm walking around thinking I'm the man. And I went back the next day because I had got a spot the next day as well. Went back the next day and it was a regular crowd. There was no tourist in there. It wasn't full of happy people. It was full of Angelinos who was like, make me laugh, damn it. And I couldn't make them laugh. And I brought a friend. I brought this beautiful woman that night. Beautiful woman. Because I'm thinking like, yeah, baby, come check me out. Man, and I bombed. It was the longest 3 minutes of my life. I bombed. It was horrible, bro. It was horrible. And after that, like I almost didn't do stand up again. I'm like, all right, I have friends who are like, you should do it. You're kind of funny. Being funny around your friends when you're out and about, just talking crazy, that's one thing. But getting on a stage in front of a bunch of strangers is completely different. So I almost walked away from it. Again, I was an air traffic controller, man. I ain't need that drama. But I decided to give it one more chance. And the thing with comedy is you have to be persistent, especially in stand-up, man. You have to want it. It took me probably close to a month of going to the Comedy Store, and they would do basically you reach into a can and you pull out a ticket. And if the ticket has a number, right, that's the slot that you win. That's the number in the lineup that you go up that following week. So you go in, let's say you go in on a Monday or a Sunday. Because back then they did Sunday, Monday, Tuesday nights were the potluck comedy at the Comedy Store. And I think now, well, I don't know what it's like now, but when I was leaving LA, they were doing just Sunday and Monday night. So you go there, you sit on a patio, right? Just right there in front of the club, and you wait. It had to come in at like 5 o'clock in the evening or something like that. And you sit there and you wait. There's a bunch of other comics out there, right? And you realize how weird stand-up comedians are. That's the first thing you realize. Like, yo, there's a bunch of weird people here. But that's the world. You're sitting there, and then one of the employees come out. It's got on a comedy shirt, a Comedy Store T-shirt. It's a comic. It's a young comic trying to work his way up. The Comedy Store would hire comics to let them work there, and then they would get paid, of course, but they didn't make a lot of money. What they got out of that was slots. Comedy Store employees got slots on stage, and that's what they wanted. So they would go in, right, basically make a deal with the devil, go in here and work at this place, and do stuff that they don't want to do as far as bartending or waitressing or cleaning up around the building or whatever. In exchange for that, they got to get on stage. So they would one of the duties come out and have to bring a clipboard and this can, and they had all these tickets inside, and you have to sign up. So they had a piece of paper out there, you sign up, and people signed up on the page, and so you had to get there early. So you would sign up, and then once you signed up, you would reach. Wait a minute. I'm confusing. No, at the Comedy Store, you were just sitting there, and everyone got a chance to pull a number. That's what it was. And then you pull out your number. Let's say you got 8. All right, they write in the number 8 slot on the roster. Your name goes there, and they would do that. They would let people pull until they had their comics. I think they were doing 10 or 15 back then. The marquee says 40. I don't think I've ever seen them do 40 comics on an open mic. I think 20 might have been the most I've ever seen. And that was it, so you got you a slot. Well, it wasn't that night. You would have to come back the next week to actually perform. So I spent almost a month going there, hanging out, reaching into the can, not getting the number, coming back the next day, reaching into the can, not getting the number. You do that, you come back the next week. So I finally got on stage. You have to be persistent in stand-up comedy. You have to want it. And it takes forever, right? And the Comedy Store only gave you 3 minutes. You got 3 minutes. And now people are thinking like, what? Only 3 minutes? That was an eternity for a stand-up comedian. An eternity. Brother Dino's in the house, bro. What's going on? Dino Dinosaur. About my father, Sebastian tells his old school Italian immigrant father, Salvo, that he is going to propose to his all-American girlfriend. Salvo insists on crushing the weekend with his Tony parents. Okay. That's what the movie is, About My Father. All right, cool. Appreciate that, bro. I forgot you're such a movie buff, man. We're gonna have to get you on here and do some movie reviews, bro. We got Wonderful 34 in the house. What's good, bro? Always a pleasure to see you, man. Thank you so much, bro, for being here. Show, you know what I mean, rocking out with a brother, doing these odd times. So, so yeah, man, it took me like a month to pull a number, and I pulled for Sunday and Monday. So I actually had back to back, performances, which was cool. And I spent that week working on my bit. I can't even remember the bit. It was horrible. It was horrible. It was the hackiest routine ever. And you're sitting there with a clock going and you're trying to do your bit in front of a mirror or whatever, trying to work it out. And I'm like, okay, I got 3 minutes. And then you go on stage, and that 3 minutes that you think you have is actually about a minute and 10 seconds, minute and 30 seconds. Maybe you can fill up half. It's like a minute and a half tops. And now you're sitting there because you start your routine, you get into it and you realize I don't have 3 minutes. And you're sitting there just sweating, man. It is craziest feeling, bro. The craziest feeling. And that first time I went up and those people walked in, I, got a standing ovation for the stuff that I said. Looking back on it, it wasn't the material because the material was awful. It was my presence on stage. That's what the people latched onto, and that's the key. That's the secret to stand-up comedy. It's your presence. People latch onto that. Yes, you need good material. You need witty material. But you could be one of those guys that just like crazy. Look at me, doing a lot of act outs, talking loud or whatever, using different inflections or doing voices. Guys come up there with guitars and whatnot. You can do all that. But what it boils down to is it's sales and you're selling yourself. Right. So good material is good material no matter where you go. People are going to laugh. It doesn't matter what community it is. It's black people, white people, Asian people. It could be Germans, it could be French. They could be from New Zealand, they can be from Russia. I performed in front of people from all over the world. Hostels are big in LA, and every hostel back in the day would have a comedy night. Maximini, shout out to him. He was one of the guys who ran USA Hostel, I think it was, on Melrose, like Melrose and Fairfax in LA. And man, he was in that room for years, building up his material. I mean, just performing in front of foreigners. A lot of Europeans in there, a lot of Norwegians. And most people who, especially when they come to America, they speak English at least enough. So they would come to the shows and watch it. They're staying in the hostels, like, oh, the hostels have this free show. They would come in and fill up. It'll be, a room full of people. And that was a way to see, I wonder how my comedy stands up against the rest of the world. And I'm like, oh, it stands up pretty good. There's some other comics just going in, they just, bomb. They just horrible at it, but they're consistent. They keep going. Max, like he just kind of, I moved from LA in '09. I went to Miami, then I came back 3 years later. And when I came back, Maximini was like traveling the world, bro. He was crushing it. I haven't seen him since. Real cool guy. I haven't seen him since. I'm gonna have to look him up online and see where he is, but he was doing really well. He had actually carved out a pretty good niche for himself and was paying all the bills. Was doing really good. So, another thing about stand up, it's all about networking. Like I said, it's a lot of weird people in stand up comedy. It's a ton of weird people. Even some of the people who are going to be successful, still kind of weird. People like Andy Dick, kind of weird. People like Jim Carrey, one of the greatest ever. A little weird. He just can be really weird. And there's some more, but it's like it seems to me that the higher you go up in the tiers and you get to the real funny people, like the people who are cerebral and funny, they tend to be normal. Bill Burr, real normal guy. If you don't come off as a weirdo, if you know how to hold a conversation, he'll sit down and talk to you. He's cool like that. You know what I mean? Chappelle, I've never sat down personally and talked to Chappelle, but I know a lot of people who have. They're like, bro, he's cool. He knows the business. Obviously, you see what he did, right, with his TV show and what he had to do dealing with Hollywood. People like Sinbad, real cool guy. Talk to him. Godfrey, talk to him. Work with him a little bit. Damon Wayans, real cool dude. Work with him. There's so many comics that I've come in contact with that has went on to do some good stuff. I've never talked to Chris Rock, but his brother Tony, real cool, really good comedian. If Tony Rock ever comes to your town, go check him out. You will not be disappointed. Hardcore, solid, old school comedian. So I was in the mix. And the thing is with stand-up comedy, man, it's all about the network. It's all about the network. In order to get up, and getting up means finding a place to go perform. You got to talk to comics, and comics sit back and they watch other comics. Right. Again, if you're a weirdo, no one wants to bring you to their show, but there are rooms out there. People, like I said, this is when you get into the business side of it. People set up rooms with restaurants, with bars, with nightclubs, and they bring in the hot talent. And some cases you get paid, a lot of cases you don't. Depends on who you are and where you are in your career. But being funny is definitely a must, but it's not required, which is funny that I say it that way, right? It's not required. You look at Netflix now. There's probably 20, 30 comedians on there with Netflix specials. A lot of them got paid. A lot of them are successful. Most of them are not funny, but they are successful. There's women and men on there. Like, I tried to watch some of their stand up. It's just like not funny. I think Dave Chappelle called some British, I think she's lesbian or queer or whatever it is, comedian. He called her out, said she wasn't funny. And I'm like, who is that? And I went and watched some of her Netflix specials. I'm like, man, she isn't funny. I think she got there because she's a writer and has some sort of TV show. Right? It's like, she's not funny, but she's got a good agent. She's got a good manager, and boom, she's going to be on your TV set. Right? But most of these people aren't funny at all, but they understand the business side. Maybe they made themselves a deal with a Harvey Weinstein type. Maybe mommy and daddy got pulled and they were able to get them whatever. It is what it is. So you don't have to necessarily be talented, but you have to be, on your grind. You have to be persistent in this game, right? So there's tons of ways to get money. Now, I was doing stand-up because I love doing it. It was a great hobby for me. And it really helped me deal with, balance out the stress from work. I can have a rough day in the office, not a rough day, but just a busy day, and then go out and do stand-up. And I kind of forget about the tower and whatever happened that day. And I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna get on stage and do this thing. And then, I'm networking with other people. I'm meeting celebrities and big business folks and hanging out, wound up at parties in Hollywood Hills or out in Malibu somewhere or whatever. It was a great distraction. It was a great distraction. Brother Dino's RIP to Bill Hicks. Yeah, bro. We're losing. Man, we're losing so many people. Brother Paul Bennett's in the house. What's good, bro? How you doing? Good afternoon to you. I know a lot of those comedians who perform on SNL had college backgrounds in drama groups that covered improv, acting, and stand-up. Do you think such would help and inspire in comic? I don't know. I do not think that helps stand-up. Now, when you're talking about acting and you're talking about improv, yes. Acting, improv is way different. Stand-up is in a class by itself. Improv and acting are cousins, right? First cousins. And Brother Paul saying, and what do you think of comedic writers? Writing, I was just talking to my buddy Ty Barnett about that. Like, writers are worth their weight in gold, right? Because you can't be creative, without writers. Writers tell these stories, and writers, good writers, are really hard to come by. I know a couple of really talented writers, and but the majority of writers I know, they just don't have that skill. Like, they can't tell stories. So if you get yourself a good writer, oh my goodness, man, they're worth their weight in gold. And if you're a comedic writer, in other words, if you can write stand-up material, yeah, you're gonna eat. You're gonna eat. All of the big names, with a few exceptions, they have writers. I know when Chris Rock is, I'm gonna use probably Chris Rock a lot as an example, but make Kevin Hart too. Shoot, you can look at anyone who's ever hosted the Academy Awards, right? They have writers. They help them write those bits. All of the nighttime shows, like the Late Show, the Late Show, the Tonight, whatever show, like those, late night TV, which is, I think, is going away. They all have writers, and you can see the effect that the writer strike is having on those shows. So, you know, if you are a solid writer, you're going to eat. Like you're definitely going to eat. There's a lot of ghostwriting that goes on in the business. It is what it is. There's a lot of people who steal material. So as a comedian, you gotta be careful with that. So yeah, but Saturday Night Live, that's improv. That's improv is acting. Um, you've had a couple great stand-up comedians go through there, but you look at I'm thinking of Eddie Murphy. I mean, you see him go through there. When you go back to the original cast, they're not ready for primetime players. Gilda Radner, John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd, Steve Martin. Steve Martin was, I think, one of the first comedians to break that $1 million barrier for his stand-up. And for you young people, y'all know who Steve Martin is. Y'all know him as an actor, but he wasn't a part of that original cast. He was just on Saturday Night Live all the time. He's made some of the most iconic characters and brought them to life. Stand-up comedian, doing like Madison Square Gardens and stuff like that. Now, I've never met him or anyone who worked with him. I don't know if he was, he might be one of those people who was just so creative and wrote all that stuff himself. Maybe he had some buddies that helped him out. But that dude, he has some of the most iconic bits on Saturday Night Live. But those people, though they're actors, and the people who do the improv and all that, you definitely need classes for that, bro. You need classes for that. So if you're gonna go to college, yeah, you want to be in a drama group. You want to take improv classes like Second City and stuff like that, Groundlings, for those people who want to do improv. I don't do improv. I think good improv is amazing. I can watch good improv, but you will never see me on stage with an improv group. You'll never see me. And I've had people come and ask me to do some acting roles. Friends of mine like, hey, can you come and play this role and play that role? I would do it, but only because they're my friends. I'm not really crazy about acting. I'm not. That could change, down the road. That could change. But a true actor can play anybody. And I can't. You can't come to me and say, hey, man, I need you to play a gay cross-dressing gangster from Mississippi. I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to get the accent right. I wouldn't be able, like I need you to play like a flamboyant style, because they'll tell you exactly how they want this character, because a writer created this character and they want you to bring it to life as an actor. So really good actors, man, that's a skill set like that I can't believe. I see people just transform when the director yells, action, and they just transform, or they cry, or they become this sinister person. And as soon as the director says cut, they're right back to being themselves. And the real good actors, they have all these different characters in them. Like they just they know how to draw and bring this character out. Man, I can't do that. Me, give me a microphone, a mic stand, and a stool on a stage, and turn the lights on. And bro, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do my bit. And that's it. I'm gonna give you, your 8, 15, 20, 30 minutes, hour, right? And then I'm out of there. I love doing that. And I'm gonna sit back and watch other comics come up and do their thing. And there's a lot of money in that. But most comics today, they're really trying to get into Hollywood, and they want to act because they want the big, big money. I'm cool just doing stand-up. And as a stand-up comedian, unknown stand-up comedian, but for the most part, I'm talking about the general public. I'm known in the industry, but I'm not known by the general public. I could go out there and do pretty good. You can have someone with my skill set and someone out there who's really, really about it, who's really trying to, make a living, and they want to hit the road and be a good road comic, bro. They can make between, $50,000 and $100,000, maybe a little bit more, depending on how funny they are and how hard they're willing to work. But man, you want to talk about stress and strain on your body, just traveling. And if you're in a car or a van or a train or a bus, or even if you're flying, it's just all that traveling. And, you're going to do a show to go pick up $1,200 here, $3,500 there, maybe 10 grand over there, because you have to build your name up. And when you do that and people want you, then of course you can ask for more money. But the average road comic, especially today, they're probably getting on average anywhere between $800 and $1,500 a gig, and until they build themselves up. Now, of course, they have the internet, right? They got Instagram and all that. Facebook and YouTube. And that makes a comic's life even harder, believe it or not, because you work on all this material. It might take you 6 months to a year to come up with a really good bit, and you can burn it in an afternoon. Like you put it on YouTube and it's burned. The whole world can see it. Now you go somewhere and people are like, yeah, I looked you up on YouTube. I saw that. So tell me, I want to see another bit. I want to see more jokes. I mean, it can hurt those people who can't, come up with new material. That's why writers are worth their weight in gold, because a writer could sit down and write you 5 jokes a night, and and then help you develop those jokes, and then put that together, and then boom, you go do a show. So it makes sense, guys, the top tier comedians, to have these writers, and these writers are stand up comedians, right? So I was talking to my buddy Ty Barnett just last night. I'm working on a bit right now. I'm working on a bit about car accidents in Florida and stuff like that. I talked about it on one of my vlogs, that I'm posting, just talking comedy. And I was like, well, I got this bit, and I'm gonna make, I tie mathematics to, car accidents, and I make this comment like, Florida don't believe in physics. That's like the whole premise of the joke. Like, y'all don't believe in physics down here, and like the way that they drive, and it's like, I'm not gonna tell you the bit right now, but it's just like, this plus this equals, and that's going to be the punchline. And I couldn't come up with the punchline. I had to set up good. I had to set up talking about a certain type of car. I'm talking about a speed that's something people like to drive, that certain type of speed they like to drive. And then I even tied it into I made it kind of political. And I was like, I was like, flat earther. So I threw that in there, equals. And I just couldn't come up with the punch. Couldn't come up with the punchline. And my buddy Ty Barnett was in Europe, and he's back. And we were talking, and he was like, man, I had a good time. He was in France, and he was like, man, it got me wanting to get, creative again. And, because there's a lot of creative blocks out there, believe it or not, that can kind of take you away from, your work, your writing, politics or bad news in the family or financial problems can block you creatively, right? So when that happens, you need to just get away. He got away, and he's like, man, it unblocked it. And he's like, he's flowing, right? We were like going back and forth. And that's what good comics do, right? This is why you got a network. Good comics sit around and talk. And I was like, yeah, man, I told him the premise. Yo, I got this, and this, and this is, this is the punchline, but damn, it ain't really working. And he gave me a punchline that I'm going to use tonight. I'm going to be at the Improv tonight here in Tampa. Right? They have an open mic, and I'm going to get there early, sign up and go up. I can't wait to use this punchline, yo. I can't wait I think it's going to be fire. It's going to be, man. And to me, that's what I love most about stand up. And when you know what I'm saying? When you lock in with good comedians, me and him go back and forth. Like I know all of his material going back years, going back 10, 12 years. I'll tell him bits like, hey, what about that? And we were talking. And we're actually talking about this documentary idea, because we were talking about writing, we're talking about good jokes, and we're talking about the censorship that's currently going on in America. And again, a good writer can write anything and write through any phase in our society. But we were talking about that there's some really funny bits out there from 10, 15 years ago that we're wondering, like, man, could we even tell that joke today? If we told that joke, would we get canceled? 15 years ago, we were loved by the people for telling these jokes. But now, somebody's going to get offended. And what does that mean? So, this is why I love this so much, bro. Because we, you know what I mean? We definitely going to talk about it, y'all. Because I want to talk about, before I get done today, man, I want to talk about how you make money. Let me write this down. How you make money. And I want to talk about the climate. The climate today, as a writer, as a comedian, right? Because we, just keep it 100, man. Everybody, they tried to cancel Dave Chappelle for telling a great joke. Dave Chappelle told that joke about his close friend who was trans, and she deleted herself because of the backlash she got. you know, and I mean, you guys go back and watch that. I don't know how Dave Chappelle got through that bit without crying. He was that's why Dave Chappelle is, in my opinion, one of the greatest to ever do it. He's telling a personal story about someone he befriended in the field that he loves, comedy, and he watched this person get better, and they have this bond that was created through comedy, which happens all the time. And this person stood up to protect and defend her friend, Dave Chappelle, because Dave Chappelle has been there for her as a struggling comic. And the backlash she caught from that community was so intense that she decided to delete herself. And Dave, he put this in a routine, and it was funny, but it was heart-wrenching. That's great comedy. That's what I aspire to do. To me, I'm like, man, if I can make a bit like that, there's no way on God's green earth I would have been able to get through that bit without crying. And I'm not even emotional like that, but you got to cry, you got to tear something up. There's no way I could have gotten through that bit. The way he set it up and actually delivered that punchline. There's no way. That's why Dave Chappelle is one of the greatest to ever do it. And then Bill Burr. Like, y'all seen him on my thumbnail. Bill Burr. Live at Red Rocks. That bit he did when he talks about deleting babies and he talks about the cake, right? Man, I laughed so hard. For 2 minutes, I had to back the video up because I missed all those jokes. I'm like, bro. In my book, Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle, right here, I give Bill Burr just the edge. He's ahead by a nose right now, only because he's dropped more recent content. Chappelle waits. And then when Chappelle drops one, it's like, boom. But that's what comedy does, man. It pushes you because you watch the people you admire. You watch your friends out there doing comedy. And it's like, damn, he got me. I could do better. I could do better. It's so competitive, but it's not hate driven. It's driven by love. Like, I could do better. And I want you to do better. It's like we're setting bars, man. I want you to be funnier than me. So you set a higher bar. Now I got to go higher and go harder. You know, that's what it is. But our society today is making it so hard to be creative and be funny and capture the things that we need to capture. It's making it so hard because everybody wants to be offended. So yeah, brother Paul, I think comedic writers are worth their weight in gold. I do think if you're a young aspiring actor, and you're in college and you're paying to be in that college, that school, to learn those traits, that trade, that yeah, you definitely you're gonna want to do improv. You want to take those classes, you want to be in a drama groups, you want to do that. But if you want to do stand-up, don't waste your money. Don't take a class. There's not a class out there that can help you be a stand-up comedian. There isn't. Stand up, the only way to learn is through the school of hard knocks, bro. Trial and error. You got to get on stage. You got to get in the open mics. You got to go to the little crazy rooms at the hole in the wall bars. You got to perform in the in the laundry mats. You got to perform in the backyards. I've done all that. I've done all those shows. Here in Tampa at the Gimmick. We walk up on the Gimmick, man. Go back and look at my videos I posted out there. The Gimmick looks like a trap house. You pull up on the Gimmick, like, is this it? Man, let me grab my pistol. Like, what's going on in here? But you go in there and it's like, oh man, this is cool. You know what I mean? So that's comedy, man. You can do it anywhere. I've produced shows in people's backyards. I've like co-produced shows. I produce shows in hookah lounges. I put restaurants and lounges. I can produce a show anywhere. Someone can reach out to me right now. It's like, hey man, I'm in Walla Walla, Washington, and I want to do a comedy show, and I have a budget of X. Could you do this? And I need the show by next Friday. Today is Thursday. So can you get this done in a week? Like, bro, I can get this done in 5 hours. Right? If you got the bread, if money's no object, I can fly the comics in that we need tonight and do a show tonight. That's where I am with my skills, and that's a lot of money. Being the promoter, and I save money on my own budget. I can host my own shows because I'm a comedian. I can star in my own shows. I don't like doing that because you either need to be performing or you need to be producing. You can't do both. It's really difficult to do both well. So I might host my own shows. And I hate doing that. If I'm hosting a show, I'll have an assistant there because there's so much going on, and questions need to be answered right then. If I'm on stage doing something and something comes up, I can't put that fire out if I'm on stage. So when I'm producing, I'm producing. I sit back, I make sure everything is good. You have to take care of your customers. You have to take care of the owners, because the owners and the people who came to watch the shows are both your customers, right? People who came to see the show, they're paying. You got to make sure everything is good. You got to make sure the owners, their service is going out to our people and everything's getting done. The money is moving the way it's supposed to move. The comics show up on time. You're always going to get calls from comics who may be running late or something's come up. So you got to have backups. There's a lot going on. And I love doing that because it's great. I mean, the business side of comedy to me is just as challenging as going on stage and performing. So yeah, man, I love both of them. Yeah, but yeah, bro, if you're talking to young people, if they're trying to be an actor, you know what I mean? Yeah, improv 100%. Do that. Pay for that. Do what you got to do. Groundlings in Second City. If they can get into those programs, they'll be solid. But if you want to be stand up, don't waste your money. Don't waste your money. Brother 90 is in the house. What's good, bro? Good to see you. Thanks for coming through, man. Yeah, shout out to the chat room, man. Shout out to all y'all. Chris is a student of comedy. He grew over time. I thought his first stuff was corny. Yeah, it is. Your first stuff is always going to be corny. We're talking about Chris Rock. My first stuff was god awful. It was god awful. I had a bit when I was talking about psychics, going into a psychic, and saying, hey, tell me my future, and I smacked them or something, and they didn't duck. And I'm like, they didn't duck. They weren't psychic. They should have saw it coming or whatever. I think the punchlines, they should have saw it coming. So damn hacky, so damn corny. That was my first bit, bro. That was like part of my first 5 minutes. It took me a month to come up with 5 minutes, and that was part of the 5 minutes it took me a month to come up with. It was garbage, right? But that's how you grow. Self-assessment. Like, okay, this is hard. Let me get rid of this. And then you start thinking of other stuff. And, now you're looking at the world differently. I look at the world differently. So when I see something, I'm like, oh, man, that's funny as hell. Don't let me see something weird pop off. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, mental note. I'm going to talk about that. But yeah, I went from that, and it took me, I want to say it took me 4, maybe 5 years to finally come up with a legit routine, like a routine that people knew me by. Like this thing, I have a bit when I talk about hurricanes. Like there's people out there like, yo, you're going to do the hurricane bit. It took me like 5 years to come up with that. Like with Sebastian Maniscalco, he had a bit, Where's Damo, which was like a really funny bit. He had a bit about, dude, like his dad holding a hot coffee and just shakes it off or whatever. He had all these different bits. John Caparello had the pine cone bit. Sam Tripoli had the magical junk chick bit. Brett Ernst fuck Tony bit. So it was, you get to a point where people know you for a particular routine, and they start asking, hey, you gonna do that thing about the hurricanes? Hey, you're going to do that thing about people flipping their cars over? Hey, you're going to do that PTSD thing? So when they start doing that, that's when cool, man, I've reached that first plateau, right? People are really checking me out. They know me. I've reached that first plateau. So 5 years it took me to get to that point, 5 years, right? And it's like, man, coming up with more routines, right, becomes, it's not harder, but it's like, okay, now I know how to stitch it together. So it won't take me 5 years to come up with the next one. It might take me a couple months to come up with the next one. And then you learn how to stitch your stuff together. And that's all a part of the game, in the sense that you build yourself up as a comedian, right? It's part of the game. And then people have different writing styles. Like some people could sit down, they'll sit at the table for 20 minutes and just write. I can't do that. Hey man, won't you come over? Let's have a writing session. I don't do that. I mean, if I want to, me and my buddy Ty Barnett, we'll get together. There's a bar called The Whale in LA. It's in West Hollywood. We would go to The Whale, have a couple drinks, and then maybe we'll go to another spot and then, have a drink over there or whatever. And the whole time we're just bouncing ideas and premises off each other. Ty has a bit about a GoPro, right? He has a bit about a GoPro and no snitching, right? It's like a no snitching bit. and he has a bit about going into a strip club as an old man, right? As an older man versus a younger man. You can probably find this stuff on YouTube, right? Funny, funny, funny stuff. We developed those routines, right? Hanging out at the well and just moving around. The the bit about going into the strip club, we went into a strip club that night. And that's what he was talking about. Like, I can't believe you drugged me in here. I was looking for a particular stripper. At the time, my daughter's hairdresser was a stripper, y'all. I know it's a long story. You might hear me talk about it on stage one day. So I'm dragging Ty into this place, like, yo, I think she's down the street, man. Come in here with me real quick. Let me see if she in here. And man, we in there. And when we came out of there, bro, 45 minutes later, he had this bit, this 20-minute bit, and he started rocking it right away. He went up to he went up to Seattle, and he like went to like I think Sacramento and a couple other places, and he came back. He had it all worked out. It was that bit about going into the strip club and a bit about snitching with the GoPro. Man, listen. He worked that bit out. It was hilarious. That's how we write. We just bounce premises off each other, right? We don't sit down and just like note, but other people, they do that. They'll sit around. The writers, you hear about the writer's room. Writers, man, they get paid to sit in a room and just create stuff, right? They'll TV shows, movies, you know what I mean? And stuff like this. Sitting in the writer's room, coming up with jokes for the Tonight Show, you know what I mean? For Letterman, for whatever. That's how it works. But yeah, Brother Knightis, you're right about that Chris started out corny, but man, he's one of the greats, man. Right. And Knightis is talking about Steve is a wild and crazy guy. That's right. That's right. You my age, close to my age. Like, oh, we're two wild and crazy guys. That was Steve Martin and was it Dan Aykroyd in that? Maybe Jim Belushi. That was like two wild and crazy guys. The whole King Tut song, man, that King Tut song, they actually made an album behind that, bro. Dude made millions off of that King Tut. King Tut, Funky Tut. That was crazy. That was back in the 70s. Yeah, Steve Martin was one of the best to ever do it. Serious, right? He was a serious actor and probably producer now. Like he goes out and does stuff. So like, and that man can really act. So, you see how people are creative in one space and it translates into other spaces. I haven't done that yet. I don't have that desire to act like that. But if someone came with me with a role to play a soldier, man, I'll eat that up. I could play a soldier. I could play a gangster. I'll eat that up. I could play a dad, a concerned dad. I could play a nerdy dude. I could play like anything I've seen, I can play. Right. But, I don't want to play a cross dresser. You know what I mean? I don't want to play that. There's certain things I don't want to do because I'm not committed to the art form like that. And Brother Knightis is saying Letterman was a comic, so was Jay Leno. Yes. I guess you could say Jimmy Kimmel as well. Yeah. Yeah. That's where it began to change though, with the Jimmy Kimmel. Like it is what it is, man. Like I said, now you're getting into actors who are in a comedy space versus comics in an acting space. It doesn't translate both ways. Comics can act if they want to. Actors can't necessarily be funny. That's just not what they do. Brother Pitney's in the house. What's good, fam? Oops, got the wrong button. What's good, fam? How you doing? I'm from Florida. I already know what you're talking about. Yeah, man. And you're talking about probably going back to that insurance stuff. Like, yeah, it's pretty bad down here, bro. I'm here for the jokes. Well, we know podcast. What's good, man? What's good, fam? I think that's JT. I'm here for the jokes. I ain't got no jokes for you, man. I'm just telling you about the business. Dr. B's in the house, man. What's good, man? Fresh to Fit fam up in here. Yo. Just stopping by for today, man. I appreciate that, bro, man. I hope all is well on your end, man. I hope you are not working too hard. That brother is a doctor. You know what I mean? Working at the, the community hospitals and stuff like that. You know, where he sees all the bad stuff, bro. Brother Mandrell's in the house, my favorite Green Beret. What's good, man? Brother Paul Bennett with the $5 super chat, man. Thank you so much, bro. I really appreciate that. Does a good comic have to be a bit off like Robin Williams or have some drama slant trauma to draw from, kind of like that comedy tragedy mask? Yes. You have to be a little off. I'm a little off. You have to. Comedy, for most of the guys that I know and women that do this and they're really good at it, comedy is a way to cope with the trauma, right? I mean, dude, I've never had any trauma that hasn't translated into good comedy for me. Be it a car wreck, be it a shootout, be it going to the family court system. I got so much material. I could probably do 2 hours on child support, family court, dealing with attorneys, dealing with crazy baby mamas, dealing with judges. I got at least 2 hours of material that I can't do yet. I got to wait till I'm out of litigation. But boy, oh boy, when this is over, man, I got jokes. And it helps you to deal with it. The phone calls, dealing with the folks who in the business. It's just, that's how I cope. That's how I cope. And there's a lot of people who deal with that, man. The great ones, yeah, there's trauma. There's trauma. You have to sit back and wait, though. Like sometimes you have to wait. And it's, we all have a dark sense of humor. We find the funny in everything. And it's just the great comics know when to release it. Right. The young comics, the people who just want attention, September, like 9/11 happened. Right. And then on 9/12, people were trying to tell jokes about it. Like, no, bro, you can't do that. You can't be in New York telling these stupid, you can't do that. That's too soon. So, you have to be able to maneuver and understand. Like, again, a lot of these people just, the ones who aren't that good, they're socially off, man. And they're starved for attention and they're getting attention. Look, they're on stage, they got lights on. People listen to what they say. So they just say to some of the craziest shit. You know what I mean? But yeah, bro, that is definitely how a lot of us process pain. You just, I'm gonna make something out of it. I know when I talk about growing up in the 70s and 80s, man, I talk about the stuff that we did, the stuff that we played with, and what the toys were made of. It's funny stuff today, but it's funny because the world has changed so much, right? So you got these young kids like, is he telling the truth? Is he exaggerating? And old people are sitting right next to him like, nah, he's telling you the truth. That's what it was like in the 70s, so and if you do it right, it's a way to bring people together. You can bring young and old together. I did a show just a couple days ago when I was talking about that, comparing my childhood to the childhood of people today. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. Miss AKA, ladies in the house, what's good, love? How you feeling? Good to see you. You know what I mean? I got you, man. I saw that comment. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be filming a real slant hour special. I will let you know when I set a date and actually do it. So I appreciate that too. It's definitely going to happen within the next couple of months. I want to get it done during the summer. I need to get this done ASAP sooner than later. So I'll definitely keep you posted. Brother Paul, Martin and Aykroyd, Wild and Crazy Guys. Yep. It was Dan Aykroyd. Yep. Another one. Extremely talented guy like Dan Aykroyd, but an actor. Like he went on to do a bunch of acting and stuff like that. When you go back to, Tim Conway, not Carol, but yeah, remember the Carol Burnett show? And they had like Tim Conway. They had, of course, Carol Burnett, Harvey. Shoot, I forget his last name. It was Harvey somebody. Was it Klein or something like that? And then you had I can't think of it. There was another female actress comedian who went on to have Mama's Family. She did her own TV show called Mama's Family, which was a spinoff from the Carol Burnett show. I cannot think of her name. I can see her face, but I cannot think of her name. Anyway, those type variety shows, you had the Carol Burnett show, you had Saturday Night Live. Those type of shows, people went off and made tons of money off of TV shows that spun off from it. And a lot of them went out to do stand-up. They went on to become stand-up comedians or were stand-up comedians and got in there. So it's so much money in it. It was the name of the TV show was Mama's Family. I cannot remember the name of the lead actress. She was the star of the show. I can't think of it, but that came from the Carol Burnett show. Brother Niders, Craig Ferguson, Russell Brand, funny talk show guys as well. Yeah. So when Hollywood gets to the point where if one person is hot and some network is making money off of some talk shows, and all of Hollywood, all the other studios want to get a show like that. So we want someone like a Kimmel. We want someone like a Ferguson. And that's what they do. And they go out and they find it. Like, give me a Richard Pryor type. Give me an Eddie Murphy type. Give me, and that's what they do. Right. And they'll come and they'll go all of Hollywood people will start going into the nightclubs and start going into these spaces looking for a comedian that they can transition over, into this new space. And they're hoping that they're gambling that they're gonna, get a big win. You look at Arsenio Hall, stand-up comedian who wound up having, the coolest night show probably ever in the history of Hollywood, especially when it comes to black folks. That's how that came about. Then after Arsenio Hall, Sinbad had his show. They had another show that Sinbad actually took over for a brother that came out. I think it was called The Vibe or something like that. And they brought Sinbad in to come because they were all trying to compete with Arsenio and take away that market share. That's part of the business. It's part of the business. So now we're talking about how you make your money, right? So in stand-up, you can do what we're talking about now. You just go out there, just crush it. Do like the Kings of Comedy. They went out there and just crushed it. And then make Hollywood take notice, and they're gonna want to offer you some roles. Like Bernie Mac, one of the funniest guys to ever do it. But he really started making his money when like Oceans and all that came out. He started acting, playing different roles. And if you go back and watch the movies that Bernie Mac acted in, well, you can see how much work he put into acting. Man, he was serious about his craft, bro. He was serious about his craft, playing everything from gangsters to soldiers to whatever. So, Richard Pryor, same way. Eddie Murphy, same way. So, and there are some people, like you look at someone like, well, why didn't Steve Harvey transition over and make movies? Maybe they didn't like, his acting skills. They make you do tapes. They make you come in and read. They make you do auditions. They take input from you. There's so much into that, but that's how you can get bread. You want to, level up on that big money. Yeah, man, you get into Hollywood, you become SAG, right? You become, get in the union, bro, get you a pilot. Every time you do something, a pilot, something like that, and even if no one ever sees it, even if they kill a pilot before it airs, your rate just went up. So you do another pilot and that doesn't air. So you went from getting $100,000 a week to getting maybe $300,000 a week, and you get another one that goes up even more. Now, I'm making up the numbers there, but you get what I'm saying. It increases every time you book something, whether the world sees it or not. Every time you book a pilot, your value, your rate goes up. So, and you're still doing your stand-up on the side, and that rate goes up as well. So you're out here, let's say you're out doing your stand-up and, you're getting paid $5,000 to do an hour. All right. That's, as a road comic, that's not bad. You're getting $5,000 at nightclubs or whatever to do an hour. Okay, cool. Then all of a sudden, you're the star of the hottest show in America. Now you're getting $50,000 to do an hour, right? And if that show goes on for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, $100,000, right? And up and up and up. So that's, of course, when you talk about making money in stand-up, that's what most people are thinking. Man, I'm gonna hit this, get these movies, get my name up there, get my rate up there, and I'm good. Okay. You look at someone like Eddie Murphy. If Eddie Murphy decided to come out and do an hour and do it on Netflix, do you know how many millions of dollars that Netflix and Disney Plus and Hulu and Apple would want to, HBO would offer him for that special? Bro, he could probably at least 300 million, right? Probably half of, like 500 million to do that show. I'm not exaggerating. Richard, Eddie Murphy, that would be crazy. And Brother Lou is right. Yes, I couldn't think of it. It was Chris Spencer on The Vibe. Chris Spencer at the time was one of the hottest stand-up comics out there across the board. He was mainstream. Black folks loved him. Mainstream America loved him. He was killing it in Hollywood. And then boom, they got him on that show as the whole vibe. Maybe it was a little too soon in his career for that. Now, Chris can do anything. That dude was one of the hardest working guys. I bumped into him many times. I've done shows for him. In fact, when I was early in my career as a comedian, Chris used to do chocolate sundaes at the Laugh Factory in Hollywood on Sunset Boulevard, right? I think chocolate sundaes is still going to this day, but when it started, it was Chris Spencer who put that together. It was him to put the work in. He planted that seed and grew it into what it is today. And I came from Cincinnati to Hollywood, right? So I knew of Chris Spencer from The Vibe. And me and my friends back in the day we would watch The Vibe just to watch his monologue and see how horrible it was. Right. And we would in Cincinnati, Ohio, laughing, you know what I mean, making fun of this dude, feeling bad for him. He eventually lost that slot to Sinbad. Sinbad came in there. And you know, now you got this veteran comedian, Sinbad, clean comic. He can make anybody laugh. Sinbad was, you know, riding the success of like what show was that? A Different World, and he had his own TV show as well. So he came in there and, you know, did what he's supposed to do. And it was like, oh man, poor Chris Spencer. Well, years later, I find myself in Hollywood and I see Chris Spencer doing this thing, you know, Chocolate Sundays at the Laugh Factory, the biggest show in Hollywood. It was the coolest show in Hollywood. Like Black Hollywood came out, you know what I mean? That you couldn't get a ticket in there. It was, bro, every show sold out. It was amazing. And as a comedian, they let us in free, and we have to sit up in the you know, the balcony, and we would just sit there, and he would let new comics go up before the main show because Chris is a comedian. He understands the game. Shout out. It was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Well, one week I'm sitting in there, right? I'm just sitting in there. Young comic. I think I might have had 4 minutes of material, right? 4 minutes. I was still trying to figure it out. I didn't have really good material. I would, you know, every 10 shows would be okay. You know, maybe every 30 or 40 shows, I would actually get people laugh and clap. So I'm sitting there and I'm in the balcony. I'm looking around. There's like no one there. Right. So you had the balcony for the show, but then behind the balcony, there was an area with a pool table. That's where the comics would hang out. And, you know, it had a glass. You could see what's going on. And I'm sitting there and there's no other comics. I'm like, where is everybody? You know what I mean? Like, I wonder where everybody is. I'm just sitting there. Chris Spencer is running through the club and he sees me. He's like, you ready? Points right to me. I'm like, okay. You know, and this part of the show was called New Faces. So he throws me up there. Man, I bombed so bad, bro. I bombed so bad. And you know who was sitting in the audience watching me? It was Vince Young, who just got drafted, right? Just on the heels of his what was it? Was it the Sugar Bowl or no, the Rose Bowl, on the Rose Bowl win when he was playing for Texas. And sitting next to him was Jamie Foxx. And Jamie, I was up there struggling, man. I just could not come up with anything. And Jamie Foxx was like, work it out, brother. And I look up and it was Jamie Foxx. And I was, man, oh, that was an opportunity. I had an opportunity right there. If I'd have came with it, I had an opportunity. And I couldn't do it. I struck out. You know what I mean? Bomb, bro. I mean, bomb, like Claymore, boom, bomb. He was horrible. But that's stand-up. There is no class that's going to prepare you for that. There's no class that's going to teach you how to avoid that. It doesn't exist, right? You have to experience it. You will never get to the next level without bombing. It humbles you. And of my little group of comedians, I was the best in my group of comedians. I was the dude. Bombed. It was horrible. But I kept going. You know what I mean? I kept going. But it was Chris. And Chris never forgot me. And then years later, I saw Chris. Tony Rock was having a birthday party at Lucky Strikes. All this is in Hollywood, right? I told you I was a cool kid, man. By this time, now I got real jokes. Now I'm promoting rooms. You know, I'm a promoter. I'm a comedian. I'm doing my thing. I know everyone. I know all the bouncers. I know all the door guys. I know all the bartenders. I get into any club in LA, right? I'm an official cool kid. And I'm hanging out. Got this one woman with me that I just met that night through a friend of mine at the lodge. And she was like, yeah, there's this party, you know, invite only, blah, blah, blah. Where is it? She's like, it's at Lucky Strikes. I'm like, all right, well, that's my spot. A friend of mine was doing comedy shows there at that time. I think it was Sarah Tiana. Was it Sarah Tiana and some other people? I think it was Sarah, was doing a comedy show there. So everyone, all the management, everyone knew me in there. I was there all the time. So I'm like, all right, come on, let's go. Go up there with her. We get to the door. She can't get in. Right? They ain't gonna let her in. And she's a cutie. She was like 7, 8, a little bit older, fine sister. She couldn't get in. I get there, my people see me, managers come out like, what's good, Don? What's up, bro? What's all love? Blah, blah, blah. I'm walking in. She's like, I'm with him. So I was like, yeah, she with me, man. So they let her come in. We go inside, you know what I'm saying? Like Chris Spencer's right there. Like, what's up, Chris? How you feeling, bro? Boom. He's like he's like handing out flyers for a show that he was working on in LA at the time. I'm like, cool, that's what's up. Go in there. Ruben Paul's there. Tony Rock, like, what's up? A bunch of other comics. Everybody see me. Little shorty looking at me like, who are you? I'm like, nobody, baby. I'm nobody. People bringing me drinks, my drink. I ain't even have to ask. They know I drink cognac. They bringing me Hennessy. Like, here you go. Good looking out. You know what I mean? Needless to say, little shorty came home with me that night, but that's for another story, right? That's for another story on another day. But that's the networking that I'm talking about. Plugged in with these folks, being able to go, and that translates into money. So whenever I do a show, you know, I could demand a certain amount of money back then in LA. If you want me to come in and come to your lounge and do a comedy show, this is how much money I need to be guaranteed. Now we can get to this number a couple different ways, right? You can guarantee it through the bar sales, you can guarantee it through door sales, or you can guarantee it by just paying me. And then you get to reap the values of all the people we're going to bring to your establishment. So, and that's the business side of it. You get to sit down and you get to know your worth, right? I walked out on a lot of, not walked out, but, you know, shook people's hands and like, all right, man, well, I'm gonna have to pass on that. And I'll recommend people. I know some people who can do that show for you, but I had the best show and everybody knew it. I had the best show. Like, so they wanted me. But if you want me, you're going to have to pay me what I want, not what you have. I don't care about your budget. I'm going to pay you $100 a week. For some open micer who don't know anybody and just trying to build time, they'll take that. $100 a week plus a bar tab, man, they'll take that all day. Not me. Like, nah, bro, $100? Man, I spend more than that just bringing you the show. I got to pay comics to show up. I got to do this and that. Nah, bro, I'm going to need this. And then there's negotiation tactics that I learned along the way. I would tell them, okay, this is what I charge. This is what you have. All right, this is what we'll do. All right, I will agree to your number, but I'll make them add some other perks. Like, I'm going to need a drink tab. I'm going to need a food tab, right? I get other perks. I'm going to need parking out front, whatever. I'm going to need this. But we're going to do it. We're going to use your numbers for 6 months. And then 6 months from now, we're going to go to my numbers. Because by that time, I would have proved to you that I'm worth the investment. And that almost always works. And then within 6 months, if I couldn't turn it around, if I couldn't get those big numbers in there or justify my numbers, then I was done anyway. You know what I mean? So that's some of the ways to make bread. But yeah, man, Chris Spencer, man, he had an opportunity. And just like I bombed on his show, he bombed on that national TV show. Could you imagine bombing on a national television show? But he kept going. And right now, man, Chris Spencer is the man. Excellent writer. You want to talk about great writers? He's a great writer. One hell of a comedian. I mean, he can rock any crowd. I don't care who they are. His crowd works second to none. He can rock any crowd. You know, now if he had an opportunity to host like the Daily Show, when I guess the Daily Show was looking for another host, I'm shocked that they didn't get Chris Spencer. I think he would have been perfect for that role, you know, especially coming behind the South African dude. I think Chris Spencer would have been perfect for that. But, you know, it is how it is, man. Brother Lou, I guess I better go up there and finally give it a shot then. Let's get the bombing out the way. Hey, bro, you're going to bomb. You're going to bomb. Do not take a stand-up comedy class. Do not waste your money. Do not waste your money. Go find you an open mic, sign up, go through the process, keep going, and bomb. I mean, that's what it boils down to. You will get better. Again, tonight, I'm going to the Improv. You know, the Improv here in Tampa is one of the two bigger comedy clubs. It's a proper comedy club. You got the Improv Tampa, and you also have Side Splitters. So Side Splitters is a proper comedy club here in the Tampa area. So I haven't been to the Improv. They haven't been running open mics. I haven't had an opportunity to get in there. So how it normally works is you go to whatever the big comedy club is in your city, in your area. You go there. They're going to have an open mic. You find out when that open mic is. You find out the process to sign up. Some people make you sign up online, and then 2 or 3 weeks later, they'll give you a slot on one of their shows. Some places like the Improv and most places do it this way. You sign up that night, you go up that night. Right. So when the whole point of going to these bigger clubs is you're going to get seen by their talent folks there, the managers, the DJs, the whatever. So you go in there and you do a good job. They're going to notice right off rip, like, okay, this is an experienced comedian. They know what they're doing. They handle the time we give you 5 minutes or whatever they give you, handle it perfectly. You don't run the light. And what do I mean by run the light? When you do your stand up, there's a light that's going to be in the eye line of the comedian. So if you're sitting in the crowd, the light's somewhere above you or behind you, but the comedian's going to see it. Normally it's red light or a blue light or a white light. There's a light. And when that light comes on, that generally means finish up your joke and get off. Sometimes they'll give you a light like you have 1 minute left. That's what the light means. You know, you have to ask, okay, what are we doing? Where's the light? You know, how you guys work it? So they might tell you like, look, man, you know, you get 5 minutes, you get the light at 4 minutes, and then, you know, get off. You don't want to run that. You don't want to, if they give you the light, you don't want to do another 3 minutes. That's just bad business. People do that in my shows. I'll never ask them to come back. Like if they do that consistently, like, bro, that's disrespectful. Respect the light. That's what I do. So they're going to give me probably 5 minutes. I'm not going to run the light. I know exactly what material to run that's 5 minutes, right? There'll be a little bit shorter than that. It'll be like 4 minutes and 45 seconds. I know exactly what bit to run and how to run it and pace it that I know I'm a boom, that light's going to come on and I'm out. So their talent people, their management and all that, they're going to be watching. They're like, okay, who is this guy? Yo, that's Don Lewis, bro. Yeah, man. You know, he's been doing this over 15 years. He moved out here from LA, you know, because people know, the comics know. The other comics going to be like, yeah, that's him. Okay, I heard about dude Bet. So I'm going to come off stage. Hopefully they'll come and say, hey, man, we hear you're out here from LA. Have a talk. Do you know these people? Do you know those people? It's like blah, blah, blah. Start talking. Yeah, I know that person. Yeah, I know that person. They know me. They're going to call them and check. You know what I mean? Hey, man, you know some dude named Don Lewis? Yeah, man, good people. You know Don? Like, yeah, he's in Tampa, man. Yeah, he came to our show. Yo, he's solid. He's solid. So that's how it works, that networking thing, right? The comedy circle is very small. You don't want to blow up any bridges, right? Because that's going to stick. People going to know. You look at someone like Carlos Mencia. They call him Carlos Manstelia because he takes everyone's material. And he didn't care. He made that money. But now, ain't nobody rocking with him at all. Dane Cook, same thing. I saw both these guys, by the way, in LA. I knew not to use any real material in front of Carlos. I never did. If I knew Carlos was in the house, I did all brand new stuff. I would just crowd work, just riff. If I knew Dane Cook was in the house, same thing. You know what I mean? Now, I've never seen Dane Cook use other people's material, but I had a lot of people that I trust. Like, yeah, Dane took this, Dane took that. Other people saying, yeah, that bit right there, that's Sam Tripoli's bit. That bit right there, yeah, that's so-and-so's bit. So I was like, oh man, so okay, let me be careful around them because a lot of people don't care. They're like, man, I'm gonna get this money. If I gotta steal from you, I'm gonna steal from you. But you know, think about it. Look at where Carlos Mencia and Dane Cook, they went on to make tens of millions of dollars. Now, Dane was one of the funniest dudes. I ain't gonna lie, when they said that he was stealing material, I didn't believe it at first. I was like, man, y'all just hating. Dude was hilarious. His stage presence, second to none. And this was back when Dublin's had a comedy show. Back when Jay-Z made that song, Bubbling in Dublin's was in the hook, you know what I mean? Dublin's was popping back then. And one of the biggest draws to that club was the stand-up show that they had every week. Every week, I think it was on Mondays or Tuesdays. I think it was Monday. And they had the best comics in town do that show. So you looked at the first 2-3 seasons of Last Comic Standing, all those comics were at Dublin's. You can go to Dublin's and watch those dudes for free. You know what I mean? Tammy Pascatelli was at Dublin's. Ralphie May, Dublin's. Dane Cook, obviously, Dublin's. Alonzo Bowden, Dublin's. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Fluffy was Iglesias or whatever, Dublin's. Like everybody was at Dublin's. I'm sitting there just brand new to comedy, just watching these people. Dane Cook closed out every time they had a show. Dane Cook closed out that show every single time. And it was packed. It was full of college girls. It was a madhouse in there. I mean, he destroyed that room every single time. I never got a chance to perform at Dublin's. I was booked to do their New Faces, their early show at Dublin's, right? And the night that I was booked to do the show is the night Dublin's closed. And they closed forever. They never opened up again. I was so salty, y'all, because that was the show. If I could have done that show, boy, I mean, that's a feather in the cap for a comic. Like, yeah, I did Dublin's. I can never say I did Dublin's. I was booked, but I didn't get the chance to do it. And I got that booking through my dude, Barrett, my guy Barrett. He was a bartender. You know, bartenders run LA. At least they did back then. And he knew Matter of fact, his roommate was cool with the person who booked that room. They got me on the show, but then Dublin's went out of business. So yeah, man. So that's how Hollywood was. So when they told me Dane Cook was stealing material, I didn't believe it because I watched him on stage and I'm like, bro, he was doing bits about the Care Bears and all this other kind of crazy stuff, man. It was hilarious, man. I ain't gonna lie. And the women were just all over it. But as I, grew in the comedy game, yeah, it was true. It was true. He got a hold of some people material at some point during his career. And it's sad, you know what I mean? There is no untouched material out there. So as a writer, material is going to overlap. It's going to overlap. And I get that. And when people come to you, like I remember I was hosting my show at the Sphinx. Shout out to Aram and all my Armenian brothers and sisters out there. You know what I mean? We were doing that show. And I was doing this. I had this idea for a tag. I was saying like, oh damn, or something like that. Oh shit, I was saying something like that, right? Which is pretty much common throughout Black America. But I'm on stage, I'm just doing it. People were laughing and stuff like that. And I had a comic from Chicago who had heard about the show. He was just kind of watching the show. This one brother, this one real cool, it was a white guy, but a real cool comic. I can't think of his name right now. He actually hooked me up and got me into some clubs that I wasn't even in LA. He got me into some proper clubs. He got me into Ha Ha. He got me into let's see, what's the Ha Ha and Laugh Factory. So he was watching what I was doing. And, I was hosting between each act. I'm coming, sitting at the table. He's sitting at the table with me. And he was like, hey, have you ever been to Chicago, doing comedy in Chicago? I'm like, nah. Like I haven't been to Chicago in ages, man. I can't even tell you the last time I've been to Chicago. He's like, how long you been doing comedy? I'm like, I don't know, maybe 3-4 years. I started out here, da-da-da-da. He was like, have you ever heard of, and he said the name of some comic, like Daryl somebody. And I was like, nah, I never heard of dude. And he was like, okay. He does, his tag is what you're doing right now. So that whatever I was saying, oh damn, or oh shit, or whatever I was saying, he was like, that's his tag. He's been doing that for years. I dropped it immediately. I'm like, word, like damn. And I dropped it. Never did it again. In fact, I forgot what it was. Like I haven't done anything close to it because I don't ever want to be accused of taking anybody's stuff. But some dude in Chicago and some dude in LA came up with the same premise, which led to the same tag. Right. So there's nothing that's haven't been touched. I was doing a show a couple of days ago, and I'm working on that bit about car accidents and stuff down here. People flipping their cars over in Florida. The comic in front of me, an open micer, same thing. His bit wasn't worked out at all. He was just kind of riffing, talking about it. Same thing, the exact same thing. Right. And I'm like, oh, so he came off stage and I went up and did my bit about cars flipping over, and he could tell, like, oh shit, he's worked the bit out. So he got to see right off rip, like, oh, first of all, he was like, people were observing the same things at the same time. And secondly, he could see how to piece it together. He was like, oh, I see what dude's doing. So there's no bit that hasn't been touched. Like, but when people come out with the exact same bit, the exact same setup and punchline, and I'm talking word for word, yeah, somebody stole that. So you got to be careful with stealing stuff. Man, I'm just rambling and rambling. We got Scam Likely in the building, man. Dusto in the house. What's good, bro? Glad you here, man. Glad you coming through. Let's see. Scam Likely is asking me, are you performing tonight at an open mic? Yes, I'll be at the Improv in Tampa, bro. So I'm about to wrap this up because I got to get ready to get down there. The show starts at 8 p.m. I don't know when they do their sign up, so I'm going to get there an hour early and see what I can see. Hopefully, they don't do the sign ups like at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, but I'm going to find out. And this is how it works, man. You got to get into the trenches. You got to hustle, yo. You got to hustle. It ain't easy. So when people get in the stand up, you understand, man, it's not easy. You got to get around. You got to find out, places like Tampa, the comics are real cool. They'll tell you where to go. They've set up little groups on, Facebook and Instagram and all that, where you can get a list of where all of the mics are, where all open mics are and the bar shows are and this and that. But you still got to go. You got to go there. And no one's going to give you anything. It's even harder in LA, harder in New York. There's more places in New York to perform, but you got to work yourself in there and prove yourself amongst these other comics. So they'll invite you to come out to these better rooms. You got to be willing to do the shit rooms. right? I'll perform anywhere. I don't care. You tell me, yo, they got a laundromat over here. It's open mic. I'm gonna go over there. I'm gonna check it out. I've done open mics. We have people coming up there doing magic tricks, and they're horrible at it, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm and up next. You know what I mean? They call me. You got to follow some dude who's trying to juggle, and he's like done dropped a bowling ball on his foot or something, and they got to drag him off. And now you got to come up and, which to me is gold. I mean, when stuff like that happens, when the person in front of me does something horrific or awful, that is definitely what I'm opening with. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things. So yeah, I'm gonna be at the Improv tonight doing that open mic. Hopefully, I'll do well enough that they'll ask me to come back and either showcase or just ask me right away to be one of their house comics. So and that's I kind of got off track, but that's where I was gonna get at. When you go to the bigger comedy venues in your town, they're always going to have a list of comics that are their go-to comics, their house comics. You want that spot. You want to be a house comic where they're calling you up to come perform on Friday, Saturday. You know what I mean? Thursday, Friday, Saturday. There's a special show on Sunday. Hey, can you come and host? Hey, can you come and do this? Hey, can you come and do 8 minutes? You know, that's where you want to be. I know that the Comedy Store pays you. The comedy, the way they do it is they divvy it up amongst all the comics who perform. So that's kind of cool when they do that in LA. But every place is different. I know the Laugh Factory pays a little bit to their house comics. The Improv out there in LA does the same thing. Flappers in Burbank, Ice House in Pasadena. You know, everyone has a different way of doing it, but they'll bring you out there. They'll pay you something. Sometimes it's like 10, 15 bucks. Sometimes it's a couple $100, you know, and then you just kind of build your name. So they're getting a good comic, and in return, you're getting a couple dollars, and more importantly, you're going to get a chance to get out there and perform and really work on your stuff. So, and be seen. So, that's the key. We'll leave it there. We'll pause it there. So, next time we have a talk about comedy, man, we're going to be talking about the current climate. We're going to be talking about writing in the current climate, and you have to be brave these days. As a comedian, you cannot be afraid to tackle what you want to tackle. You have to, but you're taking a risk today that wasn't the same as it was 15 years ago when I started. They weren't canceling people when I started. We didn't have social media. You didn't have that immediate impact. Like someone can film you tonight. You trying to work out a bit. Someone can film you and post that, and it goes viral. And that's not even theirs. Like it's so many things that exist today that didn't exist 15 years ago, but you just have to adapt. We have to adapt. So next time I come on here and talk comedy, bro, I think I'm gonna get Ty Barnett, or maybe I can get Candace Thompson, who's one of the funniest comedians coming out of LA these days, man. Female, she is hilarious, bro. That she's on the thumbnail. That's the female on the thumbnail. I'm gonna try to get those two to come on, and we'll talk about the writing challenges today. What's going on with the business side of it, you know, being a writer and all that kind of stuff. Getting into Hollywood, getting auditions. Everything's shut down in Hollywood right now with the writer's strike anyway. So yeah, we're gonna do this again. Probably next week. I'll bring one of them up. We'll talk some more about it. But the climate and how brave you have to be to write. I think that's really worth the conversation. I think you guys will enjoy that. So yeah, man, I'm done, bro. Let me go ahead and get ready. Go down here to Tampa and check out, what's going on at this open mic. Hopefully I can get up. I might not even be able to get up. That's another thing. Going out there and you're trying to be a comedian, don't get mad if it takes you 2, 3, 4 months just to get on somebody's stage. Don't be mad if that's the case. Especially when you go into the big comedy houses, it might take you a while. You know what I mean? The smaller rooms, the open mic joints, yeah, you're going to be able to get up right away. Don't be mad if there's only 2 people there who aren't comics. This is the way, bro. If there's only 2 people there who aren't comics, make them laugh. Bottom line. Whenever I get on stage, my mission is to make people laugh. Not the comics. They laughter don't count. I'm talking about the people who are just here to watch. If there's only one, I've done shows when there's only one person there who's not a comic, right? And I sat down at the table with them and just was doing my routine. And I made them laugh. So do what you got to do, right? Be careful whose table you sit at. Don't be trying to use my stuff because you might get hurt. You know what I mean? Little Shorty was cute. She was checking me out. So it worked out pretty good. But this is how it starts. You know what I mean? This is what it is. Stand-up comedy is hard, especially in the beginning. But if you love it, it gets into your blood. You ain't going to stop. Brother Dino is like, I'll give you the loud claps now. DL, go smash it, brother. I will, man. I appreciate that. I do appreciate that, bro. Thank you so much. I appreciate all the support, guys, from all of y'all, man. I truly do. You know, I just the super chats, the cash apps. I appreciate all that, brother Paul. Thank you so much for the $5, man. For real, it goes a long way, man. That's going straight to my hookers and cocaine fund. No, I'm just playing, bro. I'm just playing, man. Oh, bro, I ain't got no cocaine. So here's the thing. I'm gonna do this show. I probably do a little quick video as I'm driving down there, and you know, kind of, you know, walk up and show you guys what I see. If they got a list, you know, take a picture of the list so you guys can see what it looks like to actually walk in there. And maybe I'll find a couple comics that I know and I can maybe have a brief conversation with them. And you know, so just be looking for that thumbnail, you know, talking comedy. That's all that's about. I'm only gonna be talking comedy, man. So thanks for rocking out with me, y'all. Really appreciate y'all, bro. This was a good time. This was fun. I'm DL Saint. This is the I Really Want to Know podcast, bro. I'm gonna holler at y'all later. Peace.
Darn, that's the end.